Let's get to some news. NBA draft lottery. James. Orlando Magic. Abracadabra, razzle mataz. Orlando Magic got the number 1 pick. Oklahoma City Thunder got the 2nd pick. And your favorite team, the Houston Rockets, light the fuse, got the 3rd pick. Give me your top 3, just like your top 3 mock draft right now. Who's going 1, 2, and 3? And how sad are you that the Rockets aren't going to get the guy that you want?
Oh, not that sad. Not that sad. Because my thing is, like, I didn't honestly much care where we landed because I'm not huge on the top of this draft. Like, a lot of people aren't, you know? I feel like there's no clear-cut superstar and there's no clear-cut bust. I guess if you were a clear-cut bust, you wouldn't be in the top 5. But, like, I just, like, I'm just pretty flexible with this draft, so I'm not super worried about it. Now, you say give me your mock. Do you mean like what I expect teams to do or what I think teams to do?
Yeah.
Expect
/ think, you know, like, or think would be best. I mean, you know, it's so far out that what we expect them to do right now, maybe they come around and realize, you know, James Piercy actually knows what the fuck he's talking about, and we're going to listen to his advice, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So I think the Magic are going to take Chet Holmgren. I think there's very little question of that. He fits an archetype that they like. He's narrowly probably the favored number 1 pick anyway, you know, although it's very close between the top 3. But I would say that I see him as like the favored number 1 pick. And you know, he's best friends with Jalen Suggs for whatever that's worth. Like I just think they'll take him. He's the type of player that they tend to target, right? He's a long front court defender with guard skills. Yeah. Number 2, I kind of think the Thunder are going to trade their pick, man, to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to want a floor raiser like Jabari Smith Jr. because I think that they're too early into what they know is like, this is the only team that's really planning like this rebuilding process might take half a decade. Like, and we're okay with that. And, you know, like we're going to do the opposite of rush. And so I don't really see them blowing the load on a floor raiser like Barry. And I'm not sure they're going to see a clear-cut enough, like, future star player in Paulo to go with him either. So something tells me that they're going to trade down and target Shaedon Sharpe, right? So that's kind of what I'm expecting. But if they're keeping the pick, I think they would probably take Banchero, to be honest, because I really don't think they're going to take a guy. Like, the sell on Barry is, well, his floor is extremely high level role player. And I don't think that's going to interest the Thunder and their team building philosophy.
But,
and, you know, that
makes sense.
Take whoever's left.
I'm just thinking, like, wouldn't someone like Barry make a lot of sense with a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, in my mind, he has the potential to be a top 15 player in the league. He's probably already in my mind, he's already obviously a top 30 player. I think he's probably top 25, and he could very well be a guy that kind of has that Ja Morant breakout, at least nationally, where like, wow, this guy's like a top 15 player. He's a superstar. Wouldn't you think a guy like Jabari Smith be like a perfect dude to kind of grow up alongside him?
Listen, man, strongly I think that, but I also think that's part of the problem. I think Presti's calculus would be, if we pair Shea with this guy Barry Smith next season, and Gidey takes a step forward, say Poku takes a step forward.
Poku's taking a step forward. He's winning MVP next season.
I know. So say Poku wins his MVP, you know. Yeah. I feel like what he's thinking is probably, well, shit, man, now that sounds like 35 wins, right? And like, that's exactly what they don't want. So I feel like what Presti's going to do is trade down, take Sharpe, and make sure the Thunder are in the Wembanyama sweepstakes.
Well, okay. Well, if they're going to trade down, who do they trade down to? If you're the Rockets, I don't see moving up one spot makes much sense, because you're going to get someone pretty good, and why give up something that might be more useful in the future?
Exactly. So what do you think about this?
Sacramento, but why would Sacramento do it?
Yeah,
but Sacramento would then want like a win now player, right?
Yeah, but Barry could be that, because here's my thing: Barry could be a high end 3-and-D next year. The question
So they
with him is like,
draft Bari at 2, and they say Kings take Shaden Sharp, and we flip.
yeah, exactly. And then they get Sacramento's 2023 unprotected, probably, right? Because
Ooh,
Sacramento's all in.
I mean,
Bari's a
God,
really good pairing with Sabonis. He maximizes De'Aaron Fox. Like, he should be able to come in and play a solid, meaningful, small role for them right away.
I mean, I like that for Sacramento, and the player. I don't know if I'm Sacramento, I would love giving up next year's pick unprotected,
I
even if
I
you're all
agree,
in.
but
It's just
I
like
think
you're not Garrett. Because even if like they get significantly better, we've talked about this before. The West is so good that it's like, there's a chance you could be really good and miss the playoffs
yep,
pretty easily.
yep. But here's my thing, though. I feel you and I agree, but I don't think Sacramento is operating with the same kind of principles that you or I would operate with, right? I think the idea here is we have to do whatever we can to make the playoffs. They're literally in the middle of the longest playoff drought in history, and even though to me that's a sunk cost fallacy, that wouldn't inspire me to go, well, now we have to scramble to make the playoffs. It kind of seems to me that's how the front office is leaning because they just traded Halliburton for Sabonis, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I was actually having a conversation with someone that was pretty plugged into the Sacramento's thinking, and they weren't actually trying to trade Halliburton at all. They were actually trying to trade Fox, and the general premise was we'd rather have Halliburton, but we know we can't go forward with both these guys in our backcourt, which I get. Honestly, it's like these guys defensively are never going to work as a backcourt
Well,
at a high.
Halliburton's a solid defender who could get better. He's big.
I look personally, I would be like, look, like just do like sell low on De'Aaron Fox, keep Halliburton. But
Yeah, I
they
agree with that.
apparently were trying to, get rid of Fox. Contacted Indiana, was like Fox for Sabonis, and Indiana said, "Let me do some Jedi mind tricks." Halliburton,
Halliburton for Sabonis.
Sabonis, and they're like, huh. They're like, Buddy Healed. They're like,
Yeah.
You're like, and it's just like these aren't the droids you're looking for. And it's just like all of a sudden the trade. I mean, look, like Sabonis is a good player. That team got better in the short term. We'll see. All right. If Paolo Banchero, I really personally just want to say this about Paolo Banchero. He's to me the highest risk of those top 3 players in my mind. In just the simple fact where I look at a guy like Chet and Jabari, and if they bust, right, like they don't end up becoming superstars, I still think they're super useful, good, winning players. And with Banchero, I go, if he doesn't like become like a really elite, excellent offensive player, I don't see him being as a guy that like you're like, oh, like he's going to like be a key contributor on like really, really good teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's just more of the like, he could just be a guy that can't help a good team win
Yeah.
without being a guy that has a big ass role. And like, that's to me, like the risk with him, and why, if I was the Rockets, I would try not to draft him if I could, but he's probably
I
going to be
think
the best guy available.
yeah, exactly. So let me say this. I feel you. The concerns obviously they are real. Like Banchero has no floor, right? Whereas Bari especially has a really high floor. Like it's really easy to project one of the best 3-and-D wings in the league. Like it's almost hard to see a world where he's not at least that. But I do think Banchero has a higher ceiling than Bari. I'm not so confident that Chet has the same floor as Bari, as you said either.
Oh man, dude, how the fuck can he not have a high? Dude, he's literally perfectly built to protect the rim. Rim protection is your favorite thing. Like, it's the most
oh
valuable
yeah,
defensive trait.
I would take Chet number one. Don't get me wrong, I would. But I mean, I guess there's a world where he isn't really able to get more weight on his frame,
So
and well, I don't know. Maybe every night now there's a mismatch. Like listen, I believe in Chet. I would take him number one, but I just think that there's less precedent for a player like him that we could point to and say like, here's how this works. So I can't say that there's no bust potential.
I look, man, like the weight shit doesn't. I think I just don't see anyone outside of Jokic and Embiid, or maybe Karl Anthony Towns, giving him a ton of trouble. just
You don't think
because.
Yusuf Nurkic could body him in the paint as he's currently built?
Sure, but you know, I also think he could move him back, and Chet is so long and he's got such good timing. He'll still alter his shot.
You're
And
probably
if
right.
you want to be the fucking Portland, if you want to be an NBA team in 2023, 2022, running your offense through the low block to exploit one matchup that you're probably not going to exploit nearly as well as you think, that's a win for the defense. It's like,
Yeah,
you
fair.
know, it's like you're almost baiting people into doing stupid ass shit. And
Yeah, so I mean, again, like, yeah, Chet is my guy. That's my number
yeah,
one pick. But I guess I just think like Barry, I really see a like how could this dude miss? He's 6'10". He's got incredible lateral mobility. He's got great instincts. He's got an obvious work ethic that you can see like when he plays.
the
You
shot
know, he's
is
got a beautiful
quick
jump shot. Yeah, quick
and it's
release.
high and it's
Yeah,
just like,
exactly. You know, he's got triple threat like jab moves,
oh
etc.
yeah,
Like there's honestly no world where he's not an above average starting caliber NBA player. But I think there are a lot of worlds where he's not ever like all NBA third team or like maybe even an all-star, right? Uh so to me the ceiling with Barry is why I find Paulo to be a little more intriguing because Paulo I think could really be an offensive engine in this league. Let me say this about him, okay? Part of me wonders if we're not just looking at the best player in the draft hiding in plain sight. Like I remember with LaMelo Ball, I had all the same concerns. I was like, well, he doesn't really space the floor. He doesn't really seem like a great defender. Like maybe those things are going to hold him back. But then, you know, an offensive engine is an offensive engine, right?
yeah. But
And
Lamelo's passing was like his passing. All he had concerns, but the passing, everyone was like, "This shit is crazy."
yeah, but so if Bankero is 70% of the passer, you know, he's also 6'10" and like 250 pounds. To my knowledge, he wants to slim down to 240. Like, you know, he has other advantages. Like if he's not as gifted a facilitator as Luca and LaMelo, which he almost definitely isn't, he can compensate for that by being a lot bigger than them, you know?
No, I mean, look, like Bankero, I go back and forth on whether or not like I think he's gonna be great.
So do I.
It's just for me, it's like, look, like asking, like basically saying about a prospect, it's like, oh, if this guy's not like a top 25 offensive player, I don't know how useful they're going to be. And is like a concern because it's like he seems like a dude where if he doesn't have the ball in his hand, he's not going to be super effective. And guys like that really have to be crazy fucking good at offense, or they're like basically just useful bench players.
So the one
And
thing that, sorry,
yeah, I was just saying, like, and like to me, like that for a guy that you're drafting up there is like a concern. And you know, maybe the defense becomes a plus. Like you never know how these guys are going to develop once
yeah,
they get to the NBA. There've been plenty of guys where like they're the guy that they were drafted as, not the guy they end up becoming.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you know, that's my main concern. Is just like, hey man, you have to be a top 15, 25 offensive player in the NBA to like be an all-star. Is like and you don't really have a good 3-point shot right now. Like that's like, oh shit, like that's a big if. And
No doubt, no doubt. It's not. It's one of those drafts. I think we can agree on that. It's not clear cut, right? Like,
yeah, there's 3 dudes that are like awesome third overall picks.
yeah,
And
well said. That's exactly right.
you know, it's like that's the reality of it. All right, let's move off of the draft because we could talk. We will have a podcast just about the draft.
Oh,
So
100% we will.
we can just
If
have
not
this.
two.
Yeah, we have the exact same conversation just for 2 hours. Okay,